So let's implement this logic. So you remember that for us to implement this login, we have to check here if the email exists. Then if the email exists, then we are going to verify with the password. Then if it exists here, then we are going to activate the login, then update the data from here. So its login now is going to be true, and data is going to be all of that. So let's implement this login. But one issue we have now is that our sign-in is still like this. So it's not we've not done the sign-in, we just did only the sign up. So let's do that immediately. So we'll go to the sign up and copy everything. So it's Ctrl A and Ctrl C. So remember, in the sign-in we just need to have so Ctrl A and Ctrl V. We just need to have let's close this, Alt Z. We just need to have the email and the password. And remember, in the previous video, I'll show you here, if I attempt to submit, you notice that the male and the female, which is the button, is not showing me required, but before it was not showing that. So the error was this. The error was that everything we did in our logic here was correct. I think we tried this out before and it didn't work, and the error was that in the form field, the place that was meant to display the error, I think it was email that was there instead of gender. So I fixed that. So let me mention it to you. So that's how we display an error in formic using the radio button. So we are going to remove some of the field that we don't want, and beginning from here, before I forget, let's change this to a sign-in, and remove this and export default. If not, it's going to throw an error. So let's do that before we forget. So export default, sign in. So that is it. So we'll fix that. So the next thing that we need to do now is this. We need to change this to a sign-in. Then let's remove some of the things that we don't need. So we don't need the full name. So let's remove the full name. Just need the email and the password. So from this gender will be off, and that means you're going to remove them here. So this is show for this. That is, the show is responsible for this. So we can leave that alert here. So let's do that. So let's remove the other things that we don't need. So we need to remove the first name, your auth, the terms, and the gender. So backspace to clean that up. So just need only the email and the password. Then this was when I was practicing, so I didn't clear this off, so let me clear it. oversight, so let me clear that. We'll do all of that again. So let's leave all. So we are going to do all of this again, so let me just move them so that to not cause confusion. So we'll do our consider.log. Let me move this too. We are still going to add it. So consider.log values. Then let's remove the field that we don't need. So we don't need the full name, but we need the password, but the email should come before the password. So let's move this up. Nice. So that means, what did I move? I think I didn't move correctly. So this is for our password. Where is the closing tag? Okay, so we need to move from here, which is the email. So you have to highlight well, unless you have an error. So that's the closing tag. This is for this. That means from this gender down to before this button should be off. So that is it. So if we save that, we have cleared all we need to clear. So if we check our sign in, we'll have this now. Very nice. So what we need to do now is to now write the algorithm or the logic for our sign up. So let's do that. And we are going to use Axios. So to install Axios, you press your plus and type npm install Axios. Now I've already installed that, so you hit enter. So that is for that. Then let's now write the logic for our sign up or our sign in, but let's test this first. So if I want to sign in, I put my email and my password. If I click this, I should see the email and the password. So that is nice. So let's write the logic that we are going to use for, okay, the volume is up. So for our sign in here, so I'm going to clean this, Shift Alt A to bring out this multi-line comment. So steps to log in a user. So the first step is to use the typed email to verify if the user exists in DB. Now if the user exists, of course, when the user exists, let's say for instance we use this image, you know, it's going to bring out, it's going to return this object. So when you return this object, we have access to the person's password. So that forms the next step. So if the user exists, use the typed password to match the password from DB. So if that is correct, we log in, else don't, so we will not log in, so we can throw an error. So let's implement this. So we are going to use our Axios to make a get request. So if we go back to our terminal, if we press the second one, you're going to see our results. So we have only one result now, and after we create this block one, so which is this our user. So we are going to make a get request, and we are going to use the simple form of making a get request, which is this, because I want to avoid nesting things. So we are going to use a try and a catch. Then this will be our error. So we need to put an async here so that we can use our wait. Remember, so we say let get user be equal to await Axios dot get, then just paste in, not this, we need a backtick, then slash the what values dot email. Remember, when we were creating our user database, the ID is this, and as I explained earlier, when you are using JSON, it's not like maybe like this Node. It's not like MongoDB backend, or like any other backend where you can search by ID, you can search by this. So you can easily query the backend using any of this, and it's going to fetch as many that match that, unless you say get only one. So but with our fake backend, which is the JSON live server, the only thing that you can use to query here is this ID. So that's why we are not seeing an email here, but the email serves as the ID. So we are going to use the email as the ID, and we are going to get that. So now use the type email to verify if the user exists. So if the user exists, we are going to get a response. We are going to get that particular email as an object. So let's test that as, so we're going to do a console.log get user, not get user, get user dot data. So if I do that and send, it is showing me 4 because that user does not exist. So let me use to the one that exists. So you see that I'm getting that. So the next thing that we are going to do now is to now verify if the user exists. Then they will now log in. So we're now going to say if user, so if get user dot password is strictly equal to values dot password. So the one that the user type, we check it with the one that comes from DB. So else we can throw an error, but just to make this fast, so we can use a toast notification to inform the user that there is an error. But just to make this fast, because to add that toast notification will require some time, so we put wrong. So by the time you get the code, this can be your assignment, or your practice to test the understanding of this. So is to add the toast notification, but we are going to add it again when we are deleting our blog or updating it. So wrong email or password, so just to be fast. Then if it matches, then we are now going to log in the user. So we are going to check if we have this. So we are now going to set the user. So we'll set the user now, which is from our atom here, remember. So we are now going to set its login is true and update the data. So we are going to populate the data now. So let's do that. So we are now going to put here set user like so. Then is logged in will now be true. Then data will now be get user dot data. So that is that. So by the time we do this now, the person will be logged in. And one last thing, we need to redirect to the blog page, because that was where the person wanted to access before we brought the person back here. Then one last thing that we need to do in our blog page, we need to make sure that the user dot this is login change, so that when the state of the atom change, you know, is a global hook. So it's going to trigger a recheck of this, and by the time it does that, it's going to now realize that the state of this is login has changed to true, and it's not going to redirect the person again. So the person is going to come here directly. So that is why we added this here. I forgot to remove it again, but just let me show you. So if we do that and I log in, notice it's showing me wrong email or a password. So I'm just going to copy this password that is here. Okay, that is it. So copy string content. So let me just type it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 H1 and then there is no lowercase. There is no lowercase, so that is the issue with this, our error. There is no lowercase, so this is not a strong password. You realize that it's not a strong password. So let's edit it in our backend, or our fake backend. So let's go to our data. So we are going to add a small letter here, which is H. If not, it will not work. We are just going to copy this and log in. So but very soon we are going to find out learn how to create a user. So it's going to verify that. So if we use this now, it's showing us wrong email password. So why is that? So let's check our logic. So in the sign in, so we are saying that if the get user dot password is, if it corresponds to the values dot password, then we should log in. Else it shows wrong email or password. Wrong email or password. So let's do a test. console.log before, let's see if it's actually asynchronous or if it's actually waiting before await. Then let's check here, console.log after await. So if we see that, if we see this in this order, before await, then after await, then we know that it's taking shape. So let's do that again. So we see before await, after await. So that means it's actually working. But why is it showing wrong email or password? Yes, and that is true because I've made a mistake again. Dot data, remember, so dot data, so just like we did here, get user dot data, so we also needed to do that here. So that is why it's showing us wrong email password. So you see, JavaScript is always correct. Like they say, the customer is always right. So if you make a mistake, you know that JavaScript is correct. So let's try our login. So these are some of the ways that I troubleshoot. So it's good I'm having the errors so that you're seeing how I'm troubleshooting them. So if I click this, you notice I'm signed up. So if I update that, that will be saved. So the next thing I will need to do now is to create this sign out. When I click here, the user will be signed out. So to do that, we'll go back to our blog nav. So you're going to have a function here on click. So we are going to have an event listener that will listen for a click event. So handle sign out. So when the user clicks that, it's going to run this function handle sign out. So the logic is going to be this: you're going to update this to be a use require value, state. So this is going to be set user set user. Then this one is going to be use require state. So you use require value when you just want to subscribe to the atom. Then you use require state when you want to update the state. So here I want to update the state. So we just, what we need to do is very simple. So we can, okay, it's not going to be much. So set user, then is logged in, it's going to be false. Then data is going to be an empty object, just like we had it when we are creating our atom here. So at this point the user is not logged in and the data is off. So if it was a real backend, you're going to use either a cookie or JW web token, but this is just a simple project. So we are going to stimulate the sign out now. So if I click this, you see the user is signed out, and if I attempt to log in again, you see it requires me to sign in. Then if I do this, you see I'm signed in. So the next thing I want to do now is, if a user is signed in, so if a user is signed in, we don't want to be showing this sign in and sign out. Sign in and sign up. So it's just only be home, blog, and sign out. Then when the user is not signed in, it's going to hide the sign out and show these two. So let's do that. So we are going to go to our blog nav again. So these are just some of the challenges that you can do just to make the thing look like a website you enjoy. So now that you are a developer, you learn to add some of those functionality that you usually enjoy. on some websites. So we are going to copy this logic, but we are going to modify it. So we want to add, so if the user dot is logged in is true, if it's true, we don't want to be showing is login. So the is login is going to be what? Going to be false. But if the person is not logging, it's going to show that. So let's just copy this, all of this again, and put in the sign up. So the same thing is for the sign up, but in our sign out, we want, if the person is logged in, if the person is logged in, we want to show it, which is display flex. But if the person is not logged in, we don't want to show it. So let's verify these are conditions. So if the person is logged in, if his login is true, we don't want to show this sign in. But if the person is not logged in, we want to show it, and that is also the same for this. So let's test it and see the person is not logged in, and that is why you're showing sign in or sign up. So if you want to remove this entire tree here, so once it takes you to the login, you can put a submit here, or you put don't have an account, sign up. So we'll be switching between that page. So you know, there are so many ways to kill a rat. So we'll have this. I think we placed one of the condition wrongly. So this is not meant to be inside the link. It's meant to be here. Yes. Same thing for this one too. It's not meant to be inside here. It's meant to be here, so as to just hide the div. So I think that will fix the error now. Good. So you see how it shows now. This we can access the blog, and this we can access this. So you see that now that I'm signed out, the sign out is not showing, but it's showing the sign up. So if I don't have an account, of course if I keep trying on my password, so you just to click on the sign up and you sign up. So that is what we want to do next. Assuming I don't have an account, how do I sign up? So if I fill in this and I forget to click my mail, you notice it does not work, and it showed me that my gender is what is required. And that is one thing we did not add. We are meant to add a gender, so the person will know that that is for gender. So let's go to our sign up and add that. So we'll come back here. We'll add a span tag here. Span gender, just like so. So it's going to show like this. Yes. So if I click on this mail now and I attempt to submit, to show me a user already has used this email, so that means the logic I wrote is still there. I didn't clear that. So let's clear all those stuff. So we are just going to be left with this. So we are going to write all this again. So this error, so you see this code that you're seeing here, it was happening because I was recording the video and we've gotten to the point of even loading the blog, and it's just meant to do the update and create, and because I wanted to stop the video did not save, so I have to start all over again. So that is why you're seeing these codes. So if I do a console.log, values. So if I try to send this again, we are going to see this. So what we want to do now is we want to create a user, and when we are creating a user, we want it to be in this format. Just to be sure again, let me check if this is actually recording. So it's recording, so let's minimize that. So when we want to create a user, we want to make sure that it follows this format. So you see that the ID, the email is saved like an ID. Then have the first name, then a row. So for now, so excuse me, the only admin we have is this. So on your own practice, you can create a page where an admin can add other sub-admin. So you might decide that it's not only an admin that can create or delete a blog, that is either an admin or a sub-admin. So you can add that, but this one we're just using an admin. So let's do that. So the first thing that we are going to do is to make sure that we display our object that we are going to update in this format. So let's do that first. So we'll go back to our sign up. So here we are going to create an object. So let UPD, that is the object that is going to be updated, this is going to be an object. So the ID is going to be values.email, remember. Then the row, before I forget, is going to be normal. Then the gender is going to be values.gender. Then the full name is going to be values.fullname. Then the password is going to be values.password. And what else do we have again? Do we need again? So then the terms is going to be values.terms. So we now have that 1 2 3 4 5 6. So if we verify that, not here, 1 2 3 4 5 6, so everything is correct. So if I display this UPD instead of these values, it's going to work well. So if I clear this and send, you notice it's showing the way I want it to show. So the full name, the gender, the ID is showing as the email, the password, the row, and the terms. That's nice. So now we are going to use Axios to update, to send a post request. So use get request to get from a server, a post request to send. You can also use a patch request to send, but this row is to update. The delete request is to delete. So those are the types of basic requests you make. So Axios dot post. So we need our endpoint. So Ctrl C. So let's close this. Then as a second parameter, we need to pass in the UPD object, because that is in line with our schema. So we can say schema. So this is like our schema, the structure of how our backend will look like. Then we can put here dot then. So if it is true, we want to also sign in the user. So dot then, if the response is true, we want to sign in the user. So we say set user is logged in, is going to be true. Then data is going to be resp.data. Then we want to redirect the user. I want to direct the user to /blog. Okay, so that is it. Then if there's an error, dot catch. So error, we now have a console.log error. That is the error. So let's do this. So if we check in with this, we are going to see if we can sign in a user as this, and you notice that this email already exists, but it's going to create it. So if I submit, so you see that I'm signed in, and if I go back to my JSON, you see it has added that as this. So I have this email here and I have this email here. Nice, brother wisdom. So we need to make sure that this does not occur. So if the email exists, it should not create this. So then we need to write a logic that will prevent this, and let's do that. It's a very simple logic. So the algorithm for that, remember I taught you algorithm, and algorithm is a step-by-step method of solving a problem. So before you solve a problem, you must understand how it works. So now the problem is, if we have an ID here, we don't want it. If we have an email exist, we don't want it to recreate the email. So, and that is what is obtainable on a real website. You can't have more than one email when you're signing up, because that will create confusion. So if we have the same email, so what is the first name that it will fetch? So it might be that my first name is different from the person's first name. So there's something always unique, and email is one of them. So we are going to write the logic. So that is the problem. So what are some of the logical steps we can use? So the logical step, which is the step 2, is after you understand a problem, you write the logical step. So the logical step now is, we are going to, before we create a user, we are going to send a GET request based on the email that the person has entered, just like we did in our sign up. Then when the email comes, we are going to now check if the typed email that the user wants to register with corresponds with this. So we are going to now loop through we are not going to now loop through. Okay, with that we can avoid the looping through. So if the email exists, we are going to, okay, we can now use the status to know that, just to avoid looping. So we are going to use this method to check if the email exists. So if the email exists, it will bring back the object, but if it brings back an error, which is a 404, then we'll know that the email does not exist, and will not implement the sign up. Sorry, excuse me. So let's try that. So we'll go to our sign up, then we'll comment this out for now. So you should be resting while we fix our bug. So the logic now first. So let's write that. Shift-Alt-Z. So steps to prevent multiple log or sign up with same email. So we want to prevent that. So the step is use the typed email to check. So it's like a GET request to check or to verify if the email exists. And just like I explained earlier, if it exists, it's going to return an object. So if status code is 404, then we are going to log in. No, we are going to sign up, means the email does not exist. Else we are going to do what? We are going to, or else don't. So that is how simple it can be. So again, we are going to use an async function here. So remember, we use this in our sign up. So we are going to use that. So we are going to do this in a try and catch. Now when you're using an async, you use the try and catch just to catch the error in case it does not work. So that's why we use the try and catch. So we need to catch our error. So error. So in case there's any error, you're going to console.log the error. Then we're going to say let's get user be equal to an await dot Axios dot get. So you're going to use our endpoint, which is this again. So always feel free to come here. It doesn't cost you much. Then values dot email. So that is it. So now we want to do a console.log. Get user. So we will try to get the status code that comes. So let's play around with this a little. So if I want to sign up, so let me fill in and fill in. Now you notice I'm having an error because I didn't put a slash, but I wisdom. So I didn't put a slash, so that's why it got an error. But that's a nice way to test our error first. So let's remove that. So let's see how we can get the status code. So if I send again, I'll get the same error. So I'm going to get the code bad request, message this, the request. So you see we have dot request. So that's not our request. We have dot response. Then inside the response we have access to the request. So let's see inside the request. Okay, this is not the request. So inside the response we have a status code, and this status code is inside the request dot status. So let's see how we can get access to that. So we have dot response dot request dot status. So let's see if we can get that. So if I send again, what am I getting? Supposed to be getting for a single digit, so I'm not getting that. So the response, oh, I did not add. Okay, do I need to add data? Dot requests. My request is not spelled correctly. So let's try that again. See, having an error. So I think let's see if let's do it one by one. Let's not be in a haste. We'll get there. Response. So let's see if we can get a response. So I clean this, I send. getting this. So that's my response. So let me try to get the data first. Dot data. So we need to have access to that. So if I put this, say okay, I'm not having the data, so I need to get the response. That is what response.data.status. So let's see if we can get the response. So this is the response. So let's try that. It's not even getting a response. Okay, I know what we'll do. So let's add the slash, because it's not actually even getting to our database, so it's not going to come with that response. So you see, this is found. We have this. Then before we get the data, let's check the response. So let's get the response. So you see the response is undefined. So let's remove this get user and let's send. So you see that we have the data, we have the request, we have the status. So we now have request dot request dot status. And we have 200. So if I put an email that does not exist there, which is 1, notice that the status will be what? That will throw an error. Okay, I think this approach will be so problematic. So in this part now is now response dot status. Okay, so let me use the first approach I used. Is this? So we are going to change our algorithm because it's not working. So we are going to get all the blogs. So get all users. Then we are going to now check. So this is going to return an array. So check if the typed email matches or exists. Then if it exists, then don't sign up. Then else sign up. So let's do that. So we are going to get all the users. So that means we're going to remove this value of this. Then by the time we get that, we are going to have an array.data so .data. So if I clean this up and check, I just have 2 items there, so it's going to return 2 items. So we are not going to look through this array and we'll check if email 1 exists, which does not exist. So we are going to look through this, Ctrl X, and now as we are looping, it will serve as a wait, so it should not run the code that is below once it enters this code. So dot for each then we want to have a flag here, so let is unique be equal to false. So if each dot email, no, each dot id, now remember, is equal to values dot email, then that means the user exists, so is unique, will not be what? Will not be true. So let's update it. So at the end of this loop, we'll now say if not is unique, then we now want to add this. So this is going to work. So we want to move this now to the if statement. Then else we are going to throw an alert just to be fast, so that I will not waste time. Alert: a user exists with this email. So let's do that. So if we do that and send, what has happened? I think our condition was false, and that will cause a duplicate again. Okay, there's no email 1, so you see it worked. Email 2, email 3, and email 1, so everything works. So we have saved the user. But if I try to sign up again using the same email, so if I log out, I try to sign up again using the same email 2 that already exists. Let me choose email this, and I send, you see a user exists with this email, so it will not create. So that means our login form now will not be unique, so the users there will not be unique. So that is just a simple front-end check. But of course this is not a real backend, so a hacker can easily bypass that. And because we are injecting, because at this point we are displaying all the users, so the person will have all the access and just log into our website. So remember, this is just for price purpose. So if this was a real backend, it will just go to the backend and verify, then to come back with a token that cannot be changed, at least for now. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now is, since we can sign in and sign up, let's now, so the next thing I want to do now is, if I sign in as an admin, which is email 3, so okay, I've already done that. Okay, we've already done that. So you notice that I'm seeing the create blog privilege, which didn't exist for the users. So I think we did that before. So in case you have forgotten, if we go back to our sign, our blog nav, that was the first condition that was here, so we did that a long time ago. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do now is to use this, is to use the JSON now to load a blog that will show here, the default blog. So let's do that. So let's go back to our data, then we'll create another resource. So put a minus here. Name of our resource will be blogs. Then it's going to be an array, then it's also going to be an object. So this one I'm going to be an ID of 1. Now input. Now when I was doing the previous video that did not save, I used this as a single value of as a number data type, and it gave me an issue with fetching a single ID like this, and I didn't know why, but that was how it works. So title, so let's not repeat the mistake, or let me not repeat the mistake. It's going to be SPA. So the intro, which is just like a snippet or a brief intro, is now going to be understand how React SPA works. Then the content, let's get some lorem ipsum. So lorem what z, get this, I'll cut it out. So save that, and we use this alt z to break. Then we need an author. Amadi Green. I thought it showed me an intelligence. So we have the we have the title, we have the intro, we have the content, we have the author. So it is just a basic blog that we need to show. Then next we need to duplicate this into 2 more parts. 1, 2. So this one is going to be ID2. This is going to be what is React. So understand how React work. Then the content should be Amadi Purple, just to give some names. 3. Then React hooks. So understand how React hooks works. So that is now, this is by Amadi Purple. How do they spell that? Purple. Purple. Is it double P? Purple. So anyone will use, just focus on the pronunciation. Okay, so that is it. So we now want to get this and load it from our blog page. So let's do that. So we can create a custom for that, but for the sake of practicing, let's do it here. And if you create a custom hook and you need to do something like all this toast notification, you do it inside your custom hook, because what is being returned is just a method that will either render. So for us to make this as a custom hook, we'll have a method that will just get the blog, then we'll just render the blog. Then instead of even rendering the blog, we'll have another one that will render the blog.
So everything will just, so here will just be neat. So all this use effect and everything will be inside the custom hook. So but just to keep things simple, and because this is a practice tutorial, so let's leave it like that. But since you have already learned how to use a custom hook, so that will not be an issue for you. So let's use our use effect again. Can use use effect more than once. So that was a typo error. This didn't enter. Then we want this to run only once. Then let's get our blog, but before that we need a state blocks, set blocks, and this should be use state should be not no. So for now there is nothing. No just means nothing. Then we use our Axios. So you can use your try and catch here, but let's make this simple. Dot get. Then let's get our resource. So our resource is here now. So let's click. So let's get that. So let's get that and paste here. Then if it is true, the response, we now want to update our set blog. So set blocks will now be equal to resp.data. Remember that is where our variable is, our good. Dot catch. Any other thing that comes with that is just to it's not, we don't need it for now. So a console.log error, the error. So that is it. So how do we render these blogs? Very simple. So we do a dot content. Then inside here I have dot blog. Now we have our conditional rendering. So if blogs exist, remember is no. If it exists, then we want to blogs.map each blog, our arrow function. Then we want to return a div of blog, which we are going to use to style this very soon blog. Then before I forget, let's give it a key. Remember, if you don't do this, you have to find out too. So blog.id. Then we want to return the following: a h1, not a h1, a h3 of each dot, not each, blog.title. Then we need a paragraph that will have our intro, blog.intro. Then lastly we need a h6 that will hold our title. So this is blog.author rather, not title. So if we do this, we are going to have this. So you see no error. So let's make this display at the center and give it some styling. So with that, we need to create an external CSS. So we use blog.scss. I'm getting code. Blog.scss, we save that. Then we need to import some of our partials. Remember, So dot and forward slash dot and forward slash SCSS our extend. So we also need the other one, which is the include. Then we need to give this our blog an ID, remember. So that's how we stop the unsubscribe, or we make it to be unsubscribed. So give it an ID of blogs so that it doesn't conflict. So come here and give it that blogs. Then do we have, so we'll come here and say our dot content should be at include flex center. So do we have flex center? So let's check. I'll go to my includes, I follow this. I just only have flex between but no flex center. So let's do that. If not, React to frown at us. So center, and we'll change this to center, and we'll add flex direction to be what? To be color. So if we do this, we'll have this. Oh, but our wisdom, we have not linked our external CSS. I want it to show. Is that possible? So next we'll now do our dot and forward slash blog.scss. So if we do that, see, it now works. Very nice, but it's looking as if, okay, so the text is not properly aligned. So we can also do that. So dot blog, we just duplicate this, shift alt arrow down, bring this down, so everything will be at the center. So that's nice. So the next thing that remains now is for us to add some styling, so we'll differentiate that this is grouped, this is grouped, and this is grouped. If not, the user will not get to know that. So let's add some extends. So we need to add an extend for shadow, to have a box shadow. So box shadow should be 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 4 pixel, black. So let's make this black, let's convert it to RGB. So you tap here, see it converts. If you want to change it to other ones, you continue to tap here, and you can use any of them, but I like to use RGB. Then 0.4, so it's going to add that. Then we'll have our spacing and our border radius. So let's add that now to the blocks. So at extend dot shadow, then at extend to dot spacing. So as long as it exists in that extend file, there will not be an error. So you see how it looks like now. So let's give it a default width. So this, our width here should be 60%. So width should be 60%. So you can use any width you want. Then we want the gap between each of this content should be to be 1 ROEM. So gap 1 ROEM. So if we do that, we have something that looks like this. So next we can add a hover. So if we hover over this, it should be having a border left and right of this. So on hover, or a border left, anyone on hover, where's our hand? Hover. So we're going to add a border here. So border left, or let's use right. Okay, we have usually used left. 2 pixel solid purple. Then on hover, no, this should be transparent. Then on hover, just make this purple. Then we'll add our cursor to the pointer. So let's check that. So you see how it looks like. So that is how, so that the user will know that there's a hover effect. So you can add other things, but this is just simple. So what we want to do next now is this. If we click on this, it should take us to the blog details page where we can see the full details of this blog. So let's do that. So we'll go back to our blog details. We'll add an on-click event to this guy here. So on click. So we're not going to use a separate method here because this is just the redirect. So redirect, does it exist? I don't. Okay, it exists. So it's going to be a / blog, and this is going to be a backtick. So / blog / the ID, so blog dot ID. So remember, let's check if we have our redirect here. So we have it. So if I save that and I come here and I click this, it's going to open this page. And if I go back, see, redirect is not defined. So if I go to my blog details page, I need to add that redirect. So my blog details page, I need to add that redirect. So let's just copy it from here. It's not here in our blogs, but please don't forget to import unless I have to throw at you, or you will tumble our wisdom. So let's do that. So remember, from this back here, it's going back to the blogs, and we did that when we are learning this. So you see it works. Block 2, it works. So the next thing I want to do now is to load the actual blog content. But before that, let's handle this guy. We don't want this guy to be showing here. If not, the person can easily be distracted and say, oh, let me check what is in flower, and before you know, the person has left the site. So we want to hide this, or the person have left the blog details. So we want to hide this, and we'll do that in our nav. So we'll come here, we're going to use a condition. So use a backtick. Now the condition that I want to use is this, is the logic or the algorithm is this: if this is included in our path, remember the path that we are using to prevent this, the big or the main nav from all these pages. So if it contains this, we want to hide that particular nav, because if we say it should hide only one, it's only when we click blog 1 to hide. So we don't know what the ID will be, so but we know that this is just the intro to it. So let's do that. So we are going to put here a string. I usually like to use string, then path, dot path name. So let's Ctrl Z so that what is that's how we can split it. Dot includes / blog / then it should hide the path, which is path name, else it should be none, so it will not hide anything. So of course there is no route as null, so it means nothing. So let's do that. I see the logic worked. So next thing that we want to do is to place this at the center. So we are going to use the figure that comes with React. So we use align center, then a little bit of inline styling. So style margin top should be 2, but I will put it in quote 2 .em. So let's do that, and it's going to look like this. Very nice. So I can go back, can go front, but this is not the actual content, so let's do that. So in our blog details, I'm going to remove from here to here. Then next we want to have a state. So let's blog set blog be equal to use state, and it's also going to be null. So of course we need the use effect. So we can just, to prevent too much typing, we can do that from our blog because it's the same logic. So just copy this, or let's copy everything itself, including the use effect. Come to see, but don't forget to import unless you turn Browse Wisdom. You're trying to do your own, not React's own. So that is it. Then we don't have the set blog, we have the set. We don't have the set blogs, but set blog. Then this is going to be a single blog. So let me use the number this thing here. So slash plus the ID. So you're going to get a single blog and this. And when you make a request to get a single item, it does not come in an array format, it comes in an object. So what is going to be here is going to be, so you're going to conditionally render this. So if blog is true, then you should render the following. We have our h2, so we have the blog dot title, then we have our paragraph, blog dot content, remember, then we have the author h6, blog dot author. So backlink is it. So let's look. Oh, Browse Wisdom, I did not import use state. What a catch. Oh, the enter hit did not work. And what about my Axios? Oh, another one, Browse Wisdom. So let's do that, and our error is fixed. So you see, if React is not wrong, like they say, the customer is always right. So if you have an error, you check your code and don't get frustrated. So you see it now works. So let's log in and see it works. Very nice. So the next thing that we want to do now is this. We want to now make sure that if we log in as an admin, you can create and we can delete a blog. So let's activate the create on first of all. So let's do that. How many minutes have I spent? Let me check. Okay, so let's do the create blog on. So to do the create blog on, we just need to copy everything from our sign up or our sign in. So let's use the first one we see. So let's use this one, the sign up or the sign in. So I copy all of this, Ctrl A, Ctrl C. Then I go to my create blog. Go to my create blog. So here's my create blog. Create. Yes, this is it. So I'm going to do a Ctrl A and a Ctrl V. Then I'm going to change this to create blog. Remember, I change this to what? Create blog. Create blog. So why is it not corresponding? That means I made a typo error below here. Create. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is to change this to create blog. Then to create a blog, of course, from what is in our blog, we don't need an ID, it will automatically add that for us. So we need the title, the intro, the content, and the author. So what do we do here? So we will need to come back to this create blog. So we don't need the email, so we need the title, we need the intro, we need the author, and this author is going to be this user dot data dot full name. So user dot data dot full name. So unless this user I want to create for is to use another name, but the default should show the person's name that is already signed in. Then we have the content. For now it should be an empty string. Okay, so that is that. So 4 things we need to add here. So if you like, you can add a date and other stuff, but for now it's just this 4. 1 2 3 4. Okay, that's nice. So next is to use them in the fields now. So we do that. So everything we are doing here will still work, but we're going to change this logic. We're not going to use a try and a catch. So let's remove this before we forget. Nice. Then here we need it to be the title, so change all the email to the title of the blog, which is title. Then there is a place we will not change, that is the schema, so we'll do that after now. Then this should be the intro, so we have the intro, so this one is, let's use brief description, so that is the intro, so we have that. Then next we'll have the author, so have author, then we'll change this to author. Then next we'll now have the content, have copied rubbish, so we'll have that, so we'll change this to content. So if you learn how to use these VS Code shortcuts, you will avoid too much typing and you save your time. So this is the content, then we change this to content. So in your content you can decide to add an image and some other stuff, but this is just a simple blog. So for this, the type of making a mistake, the type here should be a text, please. Then the type here should not, this should be a text. Then the type here should also, okay, the type, there's no type here, so the type here should be text area. So, and that is it. So let's check this out. So let's wait for it to cross check. To help it, let's switch tab. Nothing is happening. Let me refresh. Okay, so that has worked, but the content is not showing the way we want. It's meant to be a text area, so I think I missed that. So it's not going to be a type, it's going to be as text area. Yes, so that is how it will now look like, so that in case the person want to type more text, the person can type. Okay, so let's try to style this to the center, but before we do that, let's write the schema. So the schema here should be title, and the title, let's use the minimum title, should be 2 characters, else we'll put too short. Then we don't want the title to also be too long. Then we'll put dot max So let's use 100 words. Else we put too long. The long don't want to spell well. So if the person did not fill it, it's going to show required. So let's break this. I'll have some room. Then we also need the same thing for the intro. So the intro, if the person fills just 2 characters, so too short, that it is too long, the same thing. Then we'll now have so next we'll update that.